بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. وخالف النفس والشيطان وعصهما، وخالف النفس والشيطان وعصهما، وإنهما محضاك النصح فاتهمين، وإنهما محضاك النصح فاتهمين. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. ولا تطع منهما خصما ولا حكما، ولا تطع منهما خصما ولا حكما، فأنت تعرف كيد الخصم والحكم، فأنت تعرف كيد الخصم والحكم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. أستغفر الله من قول بلا عمل، أستغفر الله من قول بلا عمل، لقد نسبت به نسلا لذي عقوم، لقد نسبت به نسلا لذي عقوم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. أمرتك الخير لكن ما أتمرت به، أمرتك الخير لكن ما أتمرت به، وما استقمت فما قولي لك استقيمي، وما استقمت فما قولي لك استقيمي. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. ولا تزودت قبل الموت نافلة، ولا تزودت قبل الموت نافلة، لم أصل سوى فرض ولم آسومي، فلم أصل سوى فرض ولم آسومي. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك بك خير الخلق كلهم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. Most respected elders, friends, beloved mu'takifin, mothers and sisters in Islam that are listening to this program, these are the last 10 poems of the second chapter of Qaseedah Burdah. Allama Busairi rahmatullahi states and he advises, وَخَالِفِ النَّفْسَ وَالشَّيْطَانَ وَعَصِيهِمَا وَإِنْهُمَا مَحَّذَاكَ النُّصْحَ فَاتَّهِمِ. The meaning, and oppose the nafs and the shaitan, and disobey both of them, the nafs and the shaitan. And if the nafs and shaitan give you advice, suspect the advisors of the nafs and the shaitan. In these two poems, Allama Busairi rahmatullahi urges us to defy the nafs and defy the shaitan. The two enemies that we have, one is the shaitan. Allah tells us in the Quran Kareem, Inna shaitana li insani aduwwum mubin. Shaitan is our open enemy. And the other enemy, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam reported to have mentioned, the hadith is in Bayhaqi Sharif, A'da aduwika allati bayna jambayk. The worst enemy that we have is that which is within ourselves, within our bosoms, and that is the nafs. So Allama Busairi rahmatullahi urges us, never ever follow the nafs, never ever follow the shaitan. Although it may appear to you at times that the nafs is truthful and honest, but never follow the nafs. وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمَا خَصْمًا وَلَا حَكَمًا فَأَنْتَ تَعْرِفُ كَيْدَ الْخَصْمِ وَالْحَكَمِ. The meaning, and do not obey the nafs and the shaitan, even though both of them may come to you as a disputant, or both of them may come to you as a judge. For you know very well the tricks, the plans and the plottings of a disputant and of a judge. In these two poems, Allama Busairi rahmatullahi once again tells us, and he urges us, that in whichever way the nafs comes to you. Sometimes when there's a dispute takes place, a disputant, he will present his case in a most eloquent way, in a most positive way. And the judge sometimes may just be convinced. But if the nafs and the shaitan comes to you in that way, never ever trust it. Likewise, never even trust a judge, especially if it is in a corrupt judicial system. So sometimes the nafs also comes in the form of a judge. So in that case, don't even trust the nafs. At times the nafs will tell you, convince you, this is the right thing to do. You may have no doubt whatsoever. The fact that that advice is coming from the nafs, don't trust it. At times the nafs will tell you, don't do this. Something correct for you to do, but the nafs will tell you not to do it. You may seem very convinced, but the fact that that advice is coming from the direction and dimension of the nafs, never ever trust the nafs. Astaghfirullah min qawlin bila amalin, laqad nasibtu bihi naslan lizi hukumi. Astaghfirullah. I seek forgiveness from Allah from such statements upon which I myself do not practice. And had I done this, make statements upon which I myself do not practice, it would be as though I have attributed a child to a barren woman. If a woman is unable to give birth, You cannot attribute a child or have a biological lineage to that particular woman. Likewise, if a person, he makes statements, but he does not make amal, he does not practice upon it, so he is attributing something to himself which he is not deserving of. In these two couplets, in these two poems, Allama Busayri rahmatullahi urges us. One is the statements, one is the qawl, and one is the amal. More important than what is being said is the practice to translate that statement into practical reality. The time for speaking is gone, now the time to make amal is important. And that is what will be questioned for in the akhirat. Amartuka al-khayr, lakim ma'tamartu bihi, wa mastaqamtu fama qawli laka istaqimi. The translation, Allama Busayri, it's as though he's addressing himself, addressing his nafs. That I've commanded you to do good, but I myself did not undertake to do the good. And I'm not steadfast, so what is the benefit of me advising you to be steadfast? In these two poems, Allama Busayri reproaches himself and presents the nafs as a hypocrite. You tell others to do good, but you yourself don't do good. You tell others to be steadfast, whereas you yourself are not steadfast. So he's addressing the nafs and giving us a message that when we tell others to do good, tell others to do good, make sure that we also do the good. We telling others to be steadfast, then don't forget that we also should be steadfast. وَلَا تَزَوَّدْتُ قَبْلَ الْمَوْتِ نَافِلَةً وَلَمْ أُصَلِّ سِوَى فَرْضٍ وَلَمْ أَسُمِي. I did not prepare any extra acts of worship before maut. And I did not perform any nafil salah or any nafil fast except that which is farz. I confined myself only to farz salah. I confined myself only to nafil salah. I did not do anything extra. And in these two poems, Allama Busayri is indicating towards death has dawned upon us. Very, very close. We've got a long, arduous journey in the qabr and the akhirat. And with so little provisions, we're going to undertake such a long journey. So he reminds himself that he has only done farz salat, only have done nafil salat. He hasn't done anything extra. He hasn't made mujahada. He hasn't made sacrifices to prepare for the long, arduous journey towards the qabr and towards the akhirat. When a person undertakes a long journey, he wouldn't suffice on bare minimum. He would inquire from other people, what are the challenges of the journey? And he would take whatever is necessary for him to meet the challenges of the journey. And this is not the journey of the world. This is the journey of the qabr. This is a journey towards the akhirat. And we need much, much more provisions than the basic faraid and basic fasting and the basic farz salah. The lessons that we learn from the last 10 poems of the second chapter, prior to this, Allama Busayri rahmatullahi, he likened the nafs to a rebellious horse. Horse is very, very stubborn, not cooperating. Trying to control it is gone out of your control. So the nafs is just like the rebellious horse. Or he gives an example of a suckling child that is not weaned. That child turns out to be a youth but is still suckling. Or he gives an example of the nafs with a grazing animal. Now if that animal is not controlled and it starts grazing on the borders, in all likelihood it will trespass the boundaries and go and graze in somebody else's boundaries. So in Allama Busayri, in a most humble way, he expresses frustration about his own nafs. In his own humble way, he is expressing humbleness and humility, and he's saying that complaining about his nafs. And then he paints a picture of a person being absolutely desperate, can't control his nafs. And he's searching for a spiritual guide. He's looking for somebody to help him and assist him to control the nafs. And then he paints a picture that now he has identified. He has now found a spiritual guide. And a spiritual guide has given him some basic rules and principles of Islah and reformation. One of which is istighfar. As though the spiritual guide has told him, make lots of istighfar. You come to a point of realization in your life that you have done wrong. Now change your life. Make tawbah, make istighfar. The spiritual guide also tells him that have istiqamat. Be steadfast in whatever you do. And the third advice that he's been given is make mujahada. Exert yourself in the ibadat of Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Now from all this we understand, Allama Busayri is indicating towards the importance of having a spiritual guide. This world is a world of dependence. Not a single person in this world is independent. We are interdependent on each other. A doctor, he may be able to fulfill his medicinal needs. But if he requires some assistance in his motor vehicle, his skill in medicine is not going to help him. A person may be skillful in the IT department, but if he requires medication, he needs to refer to a doctor. And the list goes on and on and on. Every one of us, we are dependent on each other in some way or the other. Likewise, when it comes to our Islah, when it comes to reformation, sometimes we can't reform our own selves. We require the help and assistance of others, a spiritual guide to guide us, to help us to come out from some of our sicknesses and to change our lives and to bring about some closeness and attachment to Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala in our lives. And that is why Almighty Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala tells us in the Quran Kareem, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqullah wa kunu ma'as sadiqin. O you who believe, fear Allah, bring taqwa in your life. And a prescription how to bring the taqwa, kunu ma'as sadiqin. Stay in the company of the truthful people. It is the company of the truthful people, it has the potential of bringing about a change and a revolution in your life. Allama Alusi rahmatullahi, in commenting on this verse of the Quran Kareem, he explained, stay in the company of the pious people, and he says, Khalituhum litakunu mislahum. Mix up with them. Don't just join them, mix up with them. Stay with them very, very closely, so that you would also become like them. How they are pious, you also become pious. Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi, he very beautifully mentions it, Mujalasatul haris wa mukhalatatuhu yahrisul hirs. You stay in the company of a greedy person. You associate yourself with a greedy person. And all the time he's talking about wealth. He's talking about accumulating the millions. Then that attitude, that approach will also have an effect on you. You'll also become greedy. And then he further mentions, Mukhalatatu zahid wa mujalasatuhu yahrisul zuhd. You stay in the company of a zahid person. A person who doesn't care, doesn't bother about the dunya. He's got taqwa, he's got Allah conscious in him. That same quality will rub over onto you and you also become Allah conscious. There's a hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Al-aynu haqqun. That the bad effect of the eye, it is haqq. Sometimes when a child is born, the child looks so good, so attractive, the mother normally put a black dot on the face to remove that bad nazar from the child. So, this is a reality, it is haqq, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has mentioned it. But Mullah Ali Qari rahmatullahi draws a very, very important point from this hadith. He says, if we believe in the concept of a bad eye, why can't we believe in the concept of a good eye? And then he says, that فَإِنَّ زِدَّ هَذَا الْعَيْنِ عَيْنُ الْعَارِفِينَ نَظْرُ الْعَارِفِينَ. Contrary to this, bad eye is the eye of the arifin. People who've got the marifat of Allah, people who are close to Allah, they know Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So if people can cast a bad eye, then arifin, people who are close to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, why can't they cast a good eye on a person? And then he explains the effect of that. The effect of that is that وَيَجْعَلُ الْفَاسِقُ صَالِحًا. Pious people, arifin, they cast an eye on the person. Person is a transgressor, not performing salat, violating the laws of the Shariah. But he got in touch with this arif, with this person that is Ahlullah. Then over a period of time, a transformation takes place in his life. A complete revolution takes place in life. Something this pious person told him, hit him, and now he changed his life, and now from being a fasik, he becomes a salih person. When we look into the lives of our akabirin, great people, who were fuqaha, muhaddithin, they were oceans of knowledge, but they never stayed independent. They never felt that they know the Quran. They never felt they had expertise in fiqh. They never felt they had expertise in the various science of hadith, and that is sufficient for them. But for their own islah, they also refer to the spiritual guides of their times. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi, ocean of knowledge. And he's a tabi, and he's recorded, he has met so many sahaba. Now what can we tell about Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi, ocean of knowledge, and who has seen the face of the sahaba, but he also felt there was a need for him to go sit in the company of Ja'far Sadiq rahmatullahi. Ja'far Sadiq, spiritual guide of Imam Abu Hanifa, Sheikh of Imam Abu Hanifa, he himself, he had to sit in the company of Qasim ibn Muhammad rahmatullahi. Qasim ibn Muhammad, great tabi, he goes sit in the company of Hazrat Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And it is from there the concept of Shaykh and Murid comes up. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, such a great person. It is stated that when he had passed away, and janaza was being carried, then the non-Muslim, 25,000 non-Muslims, they have just seen the janaza of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and they accepted Islam. Such a great personality. But he also had to sit in the company of Abu Hashim, the spiritual guide at that time. Somebody even asked him, that Allah blessed you with so much of ilm and knowledge, then why do you, and Abu Hashim is not as learned as you, why do you go to him? Say that we know the words of the hadith, but the ruh, the spirituality of the hadith emanates from his heart. Somebody told to Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi rahmatullahi, you had taken bayt to Haji Imdadullah Muhajir Makki rahmatullahi, and Allah blessed you with so much of ilm. Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi rahmatullahi, he was known to be the Abu Hanifa of his time. Such a great alim, such a great learned person. So why did you take bayt with Haji Imdadullah Muhajir Makki rahmatullahi? So he said that when I studied in the madrasa, then I knew the name of certain sweet meats, like barfi, magaj, laddu, whatever the different sweet meats are. That means I knew what is truthfulness. I knew the names of it. I learned the name of taqwa. I knew what was zuhd and abstinence. But the haqiqat, the reality of it is, when I stayed in the company of my shaykh, the haqiqat and the reality of it then came into my life. So, that is why it is so important that we have a spiritual guide and we try bring about a change. One is, we read kitabs, we hear the CDs. But sitting in a company of people where the ruhaniyat from heart to heart transforms into the heart of the people, that you'll never get it through CDs, that you'll never get it through reading books. That you get it from heart to heart. And this is what comes into the heart of the people, the nur, the spiritual light from Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, that comes into the heart of one person and transforms into a heart of the next person. That is something that we should endeavor to acquire. One person, he came to Dr. Abdul Hayy Sahab, rahmatullahi, and he told Dr. Abdul Hayy Sahab, I've got some glad tidings to give you. So as I said, we all like to hear glad tidings. What is a glad tidings? Say, when I perform my salat, then I have this kayfiyat of ihsan in me. In the hadith it is mentioned, when you perform salat, an ta'bud Allah ka'annaka tara. You perform your salat in such a way as though you can see Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. Say that I've acquired that position. Now, see what a spiritual guide would tell him. Now, if it was me and you, we probably will take some chocolates and sweetmeats and we'll give it to him and tell him basharat, congratulations. But Dr. Abdul Hayy Sahab asked him one question. You enjoyed that in your salat, but tell me, do you also enjoy that when you're interacting with your wife at home? That kayfiyat of ihsan, that you deal with your wife in such a way that you are conscious that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala is watching you. One person, he came to Mufti Shafi Sahib rahmatullahi, very close to Mufti Shafi Sahib rahmatullahi. And he observed everybody is coming to take bay'at, taking bay'at. And he's so close to Mufti Shafi Sahib, talking so freely. So finally, he decided to take bay'at on the hand of Mufti Shafi Sahib rahmatullahi. He had a habit of talking a lot. After taking bay'at, so he told to Mufti Shafi Sahib, whenever you give bay'at to people, you prescribe some zikrs for them. So what zikr should I make? Now look at what a spiritual guide will do. It's not just about giving zikr. It is about a discipline within the individual. So Mufti Shafi Sahib told him, your zikr is, you must stop talking. Now if it was probably any one of us, we say, no, just here I'm making zikr, 10,000 la ilaha illallah, and by tomorrow morning you'll become a buzruk. That's not the issue. The issue is about an internal discipline that takes place within yourself. There's so many of us, we experience certain internal situations. Who do we confide to? How do we deal with such issues? Some people may say that by mistake my glance fell on a woman. I'm a married person. And I've fallen in love with another woman, yet I'm a married person. And I've got this feeling in my heart. Because my nazar has fallen on another woman, I'm with my wife, satisfied with her. What should I do? That internal feeling, that burning feeling that's taking place. So these are kind of things where you refer to a spiritual guide. If they got some hadith, they got some information, they will share that information to you. Abdullah ibn Abbas very beautifully mentioned it. He says that man ashaqa wa affa summa katama summa mata fahuwa shahidun. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, if somebody is caught up in such a sickness, where ishq of another person, another woman into his heart, the married, he looks after his chastity. He doesn't follow it up. He conceals himself and he deals with it internally. He tries to control himself. If he happened to pass away in that condition, because of the internal mujahada that he has made, he didn't pursue enough. Such a person, if he dies as a shaheed. From this we understand, fighting with the nafs is a very, very big thing, to which sometimes some advice, you need some spiritual guide for that. And, I gave this example quite a few times about a train. In India you get that first class and you get the third class train. So the first class and the third class, they had a debate. First class, the seats are very soft, expensive, rich and wealthy people, they buy it. And the third class, the seats are hard, there's no AC there, very difficult to travel. So there was a debate between the first class and the third class. First class told to a third class, I'm more superior than you. Because the rich and wealthy come by me, look at my seats, look at the AC, look at the service. What do you have? So the third class acknowledged, told the first class, what you're saying is 100% true and correct. But I can tell you one thing, that whatever is your destination, because I'm joined up to you, although you're in the first class and the third, but because by coach we are joined to one another, whatever is your destination is going to be my destination. The Ahlullah, whatever is their destination, we'll link ourselves with them, inshallah, we'll also reach the same place where the Ahlullah also reach. So therefore, respected elders and friends, very, very important for us to identify spiritual guide. Don't keep ourselves azad, don't keep ourselves free. I've noticed that many people take bay'at, but they just take it probably just for the sake of barakah. No change takes place in their life. Other people who know that that person has taken bay'at and they notice that there's no change in the person's life, so what benefit is there in me taking bay'at? That's not the problem with the bay'at and the allegiance, the problem is with that person. Otherwise, if a person takes a bay'at and is serious about it, then definitely a change taking place. You go to a doctor and you consult with a doctor. You don't follow the advice of the doctor, it's not the doctor's problem, it's your problem with the patient. If you follow the advice of the doctor, over a period of time, you'll also be cured. So Allah give us a tawfiq, Allah give us a hidayat, that we understand the importance of the nafs and how to fight the tricks of the nafs. And that is why Allama Busayri, earlier on, he mentioned something very, very interesting. He says, وَخْشَدْ دَسَائِسَ مِنْ جُوعٍ وَمِنْ شِبَعٍ. Then be careful, guard yourself from the tricks of the nafs. Sometimes You think that it is better to stay hungry than eating, whereas sometimes that staying hungry may be even more harmful than the person eating food. So these are all the tricks of the nafs where a spiritual guide will be able to help us and guide us, and through which our journey towards the qabr, our journey towards the akhirat becomes easy. Respected friends, the most effective way to make our journey to the qabr and for the akhirat is to make the zikr of Allah. There's a hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, narrated by Hadith Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Ma amila adniyun amalan anjalahu min azabillah min zikrillah." Nothing can save a person from the punishment of the akhirat more effective as zikr of Allah. In one hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Afzalu zikr, la ilaha illallah." Greatest zikr, la ilaha illallah. The entire world was constructed and built. The entire world was created for the saints, so that we recognize this, la ilaha illallah. We recognize the greatest and the grandeur of Almighty Subhanahu wa ta'ala. In one hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reported to mention, the hadith narrated from Zayd ibn Arqam, that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told, "Man qala la ilaha illallah mukhlisan dakhala al-jannah." Anybody who says la ilaha illallah with ikhlas is going to enter into Jannah. And in one hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told, "Shaddidu imanakum." Renew your people's iman. Sahaba said that, "Kayfa nujaddidu imanana?" How should we renew our iman? So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la ilaha illallah. Read a lot. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. And don't just verbally, saying it verbally is not without any benefit. But remind ourselves of what la ilaha illallah means. So this zikr gathering that we have, it's also a gathering of tawbah. It's a gathering of istighfar. It's a gathering of where we start, realize enough of this dunya. Our nafs have stopped. Now we need to take control of the nafs. And with the barakat of zikr, that consciousness will come into us, the nur of Allah Tabarak will come to us, and we'll be able to control our nafs and get closer to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Allah grant all of us tawfiq, give us hidayat to make the zikr of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, take control of our nafs, and be safe for our Alhamdulillah.